So by the time it was shortly after that, and then he came home. And then so by the time I took him home, I was telling my dad, oh, this is my boyfriend. And so I knew it. I already saw the way people were doing everything. I'm like, oh wow, really? Are you this way? I said, no. All those people were like, you need to be careful around boys. This is not the next thing, all of that. And then from that to next thing, I mean, you're too selective. You need to calm down. Don't push. How did we get here? Just a while ago,
you were saying no to boys.
But I remember by the time my husband took me home, apparently he had told them, oh, he's bringing his fiance and all of that. They had cooked jollof rice. they killed they killed chicken for my sake. They had done everything. Like, I was like, that was actually like, I was like, oh wow, this is really interesting. I felt really welcomed and all of that.
But I mean, how much is the money?
Exactly.
How much is the money? You hear some people say it's 15 naira they paid on my head, or it's 200 naira they paid on my head. But maybe 5,000. Except people who really want to go all out.
She didn't know his family members in all of this. I don't know how they got married.
In the case of death, or you can't find the man, where do you go to?
Exactly. He was away from the house for. She didn't even know where to start. After calling his friends, the few people that she knew around.
It is the E.B.U.N show, a talk show for women and the men who love them. I am Ebolomo. Love is a beautiful thing, right? And everybody loves a love story. But this same love has become a sore point and the downfall of some people. For some, it is so bad that they dread opening their heart to love again. But the discussion for today focuses on you find this person, you love them. When is the right time to take someone home? How do you know it is the right time? Is it even necessary to do all those investigation, meeting the parents, meeting the extended family that they used to do, or it has become a stale thing? Discussing this issue with me today is Kenny Detayo. Kenny Detayo is a software tester and a social media manager. You're welcome on the show. Hey, Sage K.
Hi.
You're welcome on the E.B.U.N show.
Thank you.
How many people call you Sage K? Do they know you as Sage K?
Just a few people,
Just
a few
us.
close friends. Exactly, exactly.
You're welcome on the show.
Thank you. So great to be here. Thank you.
I know. It feels so great to be here too, because I mean, you just click. Then I noticed you love stripes.
Well,
You've been doing a lot of stripes.
Is it stripes or more like I like to play with fabrics actually?
Okay.
So the idea of just not just being conventional, just play around.
Do
with
your
fabric.
own thing.
Yeah, it just makes it interesting. Layering. Don't just do the usual, the common. Just play with it. It's it feels fun.
Again, so let's get to the discussion of today.
Right.
How many guys did you take home before your husband?
Actually, it was just my husband that I took home.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I mean, I dated a few. Okay, no, I actually dated just one before my husband. But it was just my husband that I took. I was the, what they call it, good girl, serious girl in school, face your studies and all of that. I think the first relationship was NYSC. And then it was afterwards that I dated my husband. Although we had been friends from school, but those friendships where you just feel like, no, we're just friends. Even when people were saying, are you sure? We're just friends. Nothing can happen.
It's how you guys don't even see. Friends, every other person can see that you guys click. But I think it's the over familiarity, right?
I guess so. So you just feel like, nah, we're too close to this. And then eventually, I just found that, okay, we're actually talking a lot. And it was looking like, okay, we're starting to click more. And at some point, it just felt like,
he's the one. I hope you've not seen that.
I think that's the best decision.
So it was a school friendship.
Yeah, it was a school. Although in school we were so close, right? So after school, we worked at the same place, right? So I went to intern. When I was done with NYC, I came back to Lagos. He was already working at Pulse. So I went there to intern. It was courtesy him actually. So even all that while we're still forming, we're just we're friends. But that was when we became closer. And then I was done with my internship. And then afterwards, we kept on talking. And then before I knew what was happening, we're just clicking, babe, let's do this thing. I'm like, okay, let's give it a try. And then here we are today, 5 years you know, and yeah, it's been a wonderful
The going has
ride.
been good.
Yeah, very, very well.
So, well, I think I took I took 2 people home.
Okay.
Yeah, I took 2 people home because I dated a few. Mine wasn't just school and books. No. So, funny enough, okay, I think my first boyfriend, when I was, I think 15,
Oh my God.
they caught me. There was a cut for that one. So, but like, I think I told the story before. Where I said I was surprised at my parents' reaction. Amazingly, you know, because I grew up in a very strict family background, so I was expecting to have my life.
Oh my goodness.
And you know when your parents just take a different turn and they go, we saw this, so because you know letters and all of that.
Wow.
But my father made a statement and said, it could end up in marriage, but that's not the next thing now. Like, I mean, and I'm like, even me that was doing the wrong thing, I knew that, like, but maybe because they knew that it wasn't sexual or anything, because they would have been, of course, they knew that maybe these ones are just playing around, because the friendship was quite open, we were family friends and all of that, but that one, I can't count it, right? So when I was in school, I actually had a guy. So I think taking home for me just starts from, if you are my friend, you have to get to our house.
So,
yes, you have to be in my house. I mean, if we've been friends for like a year, of course, it's not all my male friends that went home, but like in gist, for even the regular friends, like my girlfriends in school, your sisters we know, and all of that. So it just, for that particular guy, it started from him just coming to the house, not introducing him as anything, but your sisters will know that, oh, you're beginning to see this person because we were in school, the relationship lasted 3 years. But so at a point, I thought I was getting serious with him, you know. So I even mentioned him to my pastor, and I was quite close to my pastor, and my pastor said, ask him to come over.
Oh, wow.
It was my pastor that said, oh, I can't sense any commitment from his end. You know, like, he questioned him about certain things. I don't know, I wasn't there. He just said, you can still hold on to the relationship, but he didn't sound convinced, like committed. And it was then me, so I started looking like, Plus all the numerous things he had done, you know, there were other girls in the picture. So in that case, I was just waiting to go for NYC. I knew that there was going to be a natural diffusion of that relationship. Like, it's just die a natural death. I was expecting
NYC
for a
does
natural,
that a lot.
but I was even expecting for a natural death. It took a dramatic turn. I just thought, okay, don't bother.
This is it. This is the end of it.
Then of course my husband was because I met my husband during NYC.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, I did. And then when we started serving, he didn't meet my family until maybe 2 years after.
Okay. But you had started dating.
We had started dating, but I wasn't going to mention him, like, because of course our gist too was, I think it's season 1 or season 2 of the E.B.U.N show. Guess what? So we even had a fight. So I came to Lagos. I'm like, I don't want to see you near my house. So it was my sister's wedding, elder sister's wedding. I just saw somebody standing at the gate of the venue. I'm like, so I had no choice. Of course, I've hinted maybe my elder sister, like, oh, there's a guy. And the way I even said to my sister said, let me see his picture. And I said, yeah, it's not bad now.
Wow.
Let's go. So when my sister saw me arguing with someone by the gate, like, what are you doing here? I said, he came all the way from Benin to Lagos.
Really?
Let him in. You know, I can have strong guests sometimes because I'm like, what are you doing? And then, of course, for him to have been my guest, I mean, the only male guest I had, like, so everybody just obvious,
knew. Like, yes.
I've spoken a lot. So, at what point did you take him home?
Okay, so when we started dating, right? So my parents, my family, my sisters, they knew I was dating someone, right? Of course. My mom, she suspected, but of course it wasn't like she came to ask me. Then Taiwo's when she gave birth, right? The naming ceremony, that was Michelle's naming ceremony. So he came around for the naming ceremony, and of course, my mom, my dad, everybody. So I think that was when my dad noticed. He noticed that, okay, there's this guy that he was saying something between, but at the point, I still hadn't said anything. But so he already noticed. But then around the time, I was already planning that, you know what, it's time you come meet my family members, my parents and all of that. So by the time it was shortly after that, and then he came home. And then so by the time I took him home, I was telling my dad, oh, this is my boyfriend. And he said, I knew it. I already saw it the way you were doing everything. I'm like, oh, wow, really? You didn't say anything? He said, no, I was just waiting for what you know.
It's amazing how parents transition from, I don't want to see you with a man. I don't want, they never really sit you down to say, for some parents, I know some parents go outrightly like, okay, who are you dating and all of that. But in my case, it just transitions. They don't from why you should not, you should be focused to
worries. Because my mom, for instance, when I was in school, right, she used to be like, you are too select. I mean, because of course I didn't have a boyfriend in school, but then I had people that would call, sorry, we're on break and I'm at home, and then she hears certain conversations, and I'd be like, stop calling me, I'm not interested. Like, at some point, I think she started to get worried, like, you this girl, you're too selective, you need to calm down. Why are you being so hot? Why are you chasing all the guys? I said, no, I'm not interested in them, all of that. So when she knew about my first boyfriend,
mommy had been expecting.
She had been expecting.
Okay.
So when she knew about my first boyfriend, I think she was looking very excited. Like, wow, this guy. Of course, before then, you know how you said, okay, when you were 15, you had like family friends. We had some family friends like that too. Then when midnight call was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, we would spend like the whole night on the call, blah, 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 and all of that. All those people were like, you need to be careful around boys. This is not the next thing, all of that. And then from that to next thing, you're too selective. You need to calm down. Don't push. How did we get here? Just a while ago,
you were saying no to boys, be careful. Yeah.
And then now it is, so I don't know how. Well, again, I guess their expectation so with every age there are certain expectations at different times. So there's a time when this is not the thing to be concerned about now, and then there's a time when this is the thing, and then if they're not saying it, it's like, okay, what's happening? So I guess that was the situation with my mom when she was wondering, like,
so I guess there really isn't a time, as it were, to take. I think you just kind of move into the right time. Is that what it is? Or we should, because I've also experienced certain stuff where it is like a ceremony. I'm bringing my man home, and there's a mini cooking here and there.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Actually, in my own case, I told them that someone of course was coming home and all of that. So by the time he came, it was until he got back. Oh, would you go and cook for your friend? If I was the one that went to the kitchen to cook. But I remember by the time my husband took me home, apparently he had told them, he's bringing his fiance and all of that. They had cooked jollof rice. they killed they killed chicken for my sake. They had done everything. Like, that was actually like, I was like, oh wow, this is really interesting. I felt really welcomed and all of that. So in my own case, it just felt like a casual, maybe because I knew that they had seen him before, and well, I don't know how to put it. Then again, maybe there's a difference between men and women, because at the time I was going to meet my husband's parent, he had proposed, right? So it was a fiance thing. But at the time I was taking him home to my parents, it was still like, we're still just dating. It wasn't like very official yet. Of course, we knew we were going to get married, but it wasn't very official yet. So maybe that's the difference in, how the reception between both parents and parties, I don't know, was like. Yeah. So I think, that's just it actually.
So because in my head, I'm thinking these days, you even find people, when I hear stories of, I never met his parents, I never met his people, I'm like, how did you people marry off the streets? Like,
right.
Do you understand? Because I think it has even softened down a bit during our time, because I remember in my elder sister's time, it was like a ceremony. It wasn't the introduction by me. Tayo's husband is coming home, and Tayo's omokobo, and that kind of thing, and maybe pounded yam, egusi,
do all of that.
It's not the regular one you eat in the house. Like, you're welcoming someone to your house. There used to be, we won't call it a ceremony, but there's a preparation that comes around.
That somebody special is coming home.
And again, they want the siblings to be around in the house. Because I remember, even from my auntie, the one that is not my sibling, Gogo, like my aunt, my dad's younger sister, like, calls were made. Like, you have to be around. Auntie Folola is bringing her fiancé, But so that's why it surprises me these days that, is it that we're discarding culture for this, or this is what civilization is about?
Well, again, so I think our generation, there's this wokeness that we like forming, right? We are woke. We are different from our parents' generation because, quite frankly, it's actually, it really, my own opinion, I don't think it makes sense, right? That you just meet someone and then next thing you're married, you don't get to meet his parents, his family members, or anything. Because I mean, think about it. What if something happens in the future? You can't even tell that this is where your husband or your spouse is from, right? So I think that the generation, our parents' generation, I think it makes sense to uphold that culture where all of that proper findings back then. As a matter of fact, I know my dad used to tell us stories about how when you want to get married, in fact, it's not like us that we will bring the man home and say, oh, this is the person and this is the person I want to get married to. That then it's a family thing. So the families will go and check out the other family, do the findings, investigation, and then when you're okay with it, then I say, okay, would like to marry your daughter or something like that. But then the parents will make sure they go do all that findings and all of that. So later it started, they started giving us the liberty to, okay, this is the person I want to marry, but then you bring the person, and then they do some questioning here.
Questions will be asked.
That's still very okay. But when we got to the level where people feel like that's too old school or that's too old fashioned, I don't know, and then they just feel like,
I can just Google it. I can just Google it. Like you are Googling. Because you see, when I was running a makeup studio, I had a lady that was working for me, an Igbo girl. I think Igbos still have this thing more than the Yorubas.
Right.
I think, because then she was going to get married. She was very young, and then she said, we've paid for this, the community chief is going to their house.
Yeah.
Guess what? Not just to check if their address is their address. In the town, I'm not even talking about Lagos, they want to see if they've not been banished, if they're not outcast from the community. Wow. They want to check if there's no history of a particular health challenge or mental illness. They want to check. And I'm like, and they have to pay the youth community, they have to pay the church, not pay as a webo. There are certain levies, quote and unquote, that has to be passed to the village. And I'm like, are you kidding me? The guy she was dating was right behind my studio.
Wow. Like
his house.
Wow.
Right behind the studio, like the other street. The guy did not know when they were going. It wasn't as if, no, that had to be done. I was tripped because even in my case, it wasn't done.
Right.
I've not even been to my husband's hometown. You understand?
I only know where it's from.
We just meet in Lagos and then. No, I don't know if all that is so necessary, but I'm saying that we both agree that that is what, and it just made it feel rich, because if your family has gone through that much, it's family too has paid, because the family has to make payments for all those waka bouts that you
are going to do.
I'm not saying that people cannot put money on your head and still maltreat you, but I mean, something is given, and it makes the whole thing appear, it makes it look precious, like you sacrificed for it. You had to do. It's not as if you just take someone off the street. Next time, the next thing is you have given birth for each other, and then you just move in.
I think that, not to defend people who do it, right? Yeah. But I think one of the things that might have led to this whole, just see someone, I think the era of when we started having baby mamas, baby papas, I think that actually brought it a lot, right? Because I've heard of stories where, I mean, and these are things that we actually see or hear of, right? You see someone who maybe gives birth for a man, right? And then the parents feel like, I've heard of a story, right? This is someone I know. She got pregnant and then she gave birth for the man, and because how people feel like, our parents used to feel like, as long as you're giving birth to, it has to be the one that you will get married to. So now at that point, nobody is interested in finding out so much, like doing all those background checks at that point, because they already feel like, you both already have a child together. So it just feels like, let's just do. As a matter of fact, this particular story I'm talking about, they had to quickly do the wedding, like a quick one, before the child was born. Right? So now, in the process of trying to do all of that so quickly, hush hush, I don't think they would have had the time to go do all those findings and all of that. And so I think little by little, with things like that, all those decided to creep into the society, and then before when it was happening, we were starting to throw away the culture of actually having to do like proper findings and all of that. I think some other people, for financial reasons, right? You feel like, oh, this man can actually support our daughter, and not just our daughter alone, by extension, support us because he's wealthy. So they don't want to find out if there's a case of mental illness or whatever in their family, because at that point it doesn't really matter.
It won't count.
They just want to be taken care of. So I mean, this is not to say that what they're doing actually, makes it make sense for that reason. I think no matter what, it still makes sense that, we have to go all out to do the findings, because I mean, I think about it now, right? My son is just 8 months old, but sometimes I think about it when I'm taking care of him. Sometimes I'll be like, and then sometime in the future now, this boy, one girl will just come and just be like, this is my wife, and but every time I think about it, I'll be like, fine, he's the boy and he's going to get married, bring a woman to his house, but the fact that he's the boy in the marriage or the man in the marriage doesn't mean that I will be open to accept just
anybody.
Not to talk of we ladies who have to, do the full movement, like from our parents' house to the man, like do the findings.
I think another thing that might prompt this generation is, it's not the parents that will live in the house with you. So why carry along the parents? Why go to the maybe roots of the person? But again, stories abound of people where what they claim they are is not who they are eventually, and then people rent parents, people rent mothers because they just want to get someone by all means, and then here is your family who just practically dashes you out. It's as if even the traditional marriage that we talk about, like the paying of dowry, visiting, it's as if the money, we know some culture can be quite elaborate about it, but I mean, how much is the money?
Exactly.
How much is the money? You hear some people say it's 15 naira they paid on my head, or it's 200 naira they paid on my head. What about that? Maybe 5,000. Except people who really want to go all out. Now we have a culture of people who actually return. That debate of whether you should collect dowry, we are not selling our daughter, or you should take it because it is the right thing to do, is totally a different topic, because there's a lot to be said. Then, like you said, not castigating baby mamas or something, but see, the truth has to be told. There's some things that are actually erasing moral or values.
Exactly.
Because we don't want to talk about it because we don't want to offend. But eventually you find out that religious values and moral values actually are to our benefits.
Exactly.
You understand?
Exactly. They have a way of keeping us, what's the word now? Sin is not the word I'm looking for, but they have a way of, covering some of our excesses, just so we are able to, do what is right.
While some will argue that even after doing all the things right, you still have some marriages that are not functioning. But I mean, I think it is more on this side where you just give birth and they pack your things and take to the guy's house. The guy has not done anything really. He only slept with you and then you are his wife. Quote and unquote. He can even chase you out tomorrow because there's nothing legal that has been done. You just found yourself on the street and then he has the liberty to do all sorts and all of that. There's nothing holding him back. There's nothing giving him a second thought as to do not treat this person like this. Like, you know what? Okay, what? How about even dating? People will meet themselves 1 month and you become husband and wife.
But like the funny thing with that is, because aside from the fact that you also have to go meet, know the family members and everything, people who meet themselves in a month and just get married, honestly, I wonder how they actually do it, right? In terms of both the relationship, because in my head I'm thinking, forget about the two individuals involved. Don't they have family members? Like, how do you relate?
No, it's about the man alone. For them.
Because I think that's where people get it wrong, when you feel like, the family, after all, it's just two of us in the relationship, it's just two of us in the marriage, right? So I heard a story of a lady who got married, loving man, wonderful big man, had a good job, they had house, a very good house, like everything going on really well. I mean, unfortunately, right, everything was on debt, right? So she didn't know that he had collected loan, and so he was servicing the loan, and then after a while he lost his job. So now that meant that because he wasn't done servicing the loan, and then of course the house is a collateral, right? So by the time they came and seized everything, now unfortunately for her, she didn't know the man's family. So where to even start running around to where to, because you know how men can be, or let me know, I won't generalize that here. You know how some men can be when they have to handle certain things like this. Depression, they really don't know how to handle situations like that. So he started drinking and all of that. He basically just left her on her own. She was just, and then it was at that point, and she wasn't even working. Of course, because her husband was working, he was taking care of the family and he wasn't. But then the unfortunate part of it is that she didn't know his family members in all of this. I don't know how they got married.
In the case of death, or you can't find the man, where do you go to?
Exactly. He was away from the house for. She didn't even know where to start. After calling his friends, the few people that she knew around, nobody knew where he was. So she didn't even know how to start looking for him. There was no family member to contact, no nothing. I'm not even sure exactly how.
I think
that
life
went
is too precious to want to do that to yourself.
To yourself.
You know, let me quickly, it's like I'm stepping back a bit. At what point did you know that you should take this person home? Well, have we answered that? Like, did you know that, oh, okay, because you know you date, there are some people that you date and you feel, this one, because you date to know.
Right.
Yeah. What are the factors that contributed to, oh, at this time, I know that this is the person? Because if you didn't want to settle down with him, you wouldn't have taken him home in the first place.
So, I mean, first of all, there is the fact that the way we relate, right, the way we think about certain things, I'll first of all establish the fact that when it comes to our faith, we're on the same side in our faith, right? We're both Christians, we believe in God, and so that was already settled. Then certain other things, like the way his thought process, his thought pattern towards certain things, where we talked about certain things. Okay, I find out that, okay, we were resonating on the same level. Okay, I think I can actually work with this person. Certain things that we're not compatible with, like, or that we used to, argue or fight about, which wasn't like so much in the first place. There are things that they're actually very negligible, right? Till date, right? Things like, oh, maybe, babe, I've told you, stop putting your slippers here. Don't put it in front of the bathroom, because when I'm coming out from the bathroom, I don't know that there's slippers. Do you want me to trip and fall? These are very negligible, exactly. But when it comes to like the important things, like, oh, money, we have conversations around children, how we want them to be raised, and all those other things. I'm like, okay, this person is really, really thinking like me. It wasn't like we're always fighting or anything. So when all of those things were established, I'm like, okay, this guy actually makes sense. I think, right, at this point, I can officially introduce him to my family members and say, okay, this is the person I'm dating, with, in hopes that we're actually serious with each other, and we know that we intend for it to, get to marriage. So, but like,
a question comes to mind.
Yeah.
Would you have accepted if your parents had said no? Because that's another thing. That's another part of taking people home, for your parents to see. Because for me, it was just, I took him home. They didn't say anything. But if they had said something, what would you have done? Would you have gone with how they felt?
Honestly speaking, I don't know how I would have reacted to that, right? If that had been the case. Because as much as I would have loved to maybe continue the relationship, I also want my parents' blessing to be able to, continue with him, get married and all of that. So if they had said no, considering the fact that I didn't find myself in that position, I'm not sure I know how I would have reacted, because I actually would want them to be involved.
Then let's throw it to them. How would you have felt? No, not felt. What would be your reaction if you take a man you love so much home and your parents say no? In the first place, do your parents have a say when it comes to your romantic life? Is it romance life or romantic life now? Right. Your relationships, do they have a say? Do you think they know better? Or some would even have an argument of, you're not the one in this relationship.
Should you go ahead regardless of how or what they say or how they feel?
Should you go ahead despite them saying no or not? Then, because it's dicey. Another part is your parents could be wrong.
Right.
Your parents could be wrong. So how would you navigate such a situation? Because we have had stories of people who their parents actually said do not go ahead, and they went ahead, and things are going on. Eventually they reconcile and all of that. But it wouldn't have been funny. So if you were in that situation, please share your story in the comment section. And if you were not, how would you have reacted? What would be your reaction? What would you have done? Because you love this person. And there's a way love turns your head, Daya. You know, they say there's this Yoruba adage that is interpreted this way. If you claim to have as much clothes, if your wardrobe is as full as that of your older one,
you definitely can have as much
rags as they do. Yeah. So, and again, they say what the child will not see on the mountaintop,
and the elderly person will say, wow, seated.
Comfortably seated. So, do we want to take that as the right definition in this kind of setting, or what do you feel? So, generally, let's begin to round off.
Okay.
What would be your advice about this culture thing, marriage, settling down with someone, knowing them, investigating, and all?
Right. So, I think my advice would be, yes, even if we want to form being woke and all of that, let's not bring it to marriage when it comes to that, right? Get your family members involved, get your parents involved. Let them do the findings. You also do your findings. Are you okay with your spouse? Are you okay with his family members? Because at the end of the day, fine, you think you're getting married to just that person, but you're going to be super involved with the family members. When you give birth, your children are celebrating their birthdays, you want to involve. Do you want to push them out of it? So it actually makes sense, to carry them along, do the findings. Are you okay with the background? Are you okay with their traditions? All of that from the get-go, so that you know that, okay, we're good, there's nothing to be bothered about, So I think my own advice would be, let's go back to our parents' generation, where you usually do all the findings. Don't just meet someone today and then the next thing you have jumped into the marriage.
And in addition to what you have said, I believe that when you're in a situation, you're too close to see. Just with any object, when you're too close, you only see a certain part.
Right.
Or like when you're distant from it, you can see the whole.
Right.
You understand? There are some things you would not see because you're the one in the relationship.
Exactly.
I've had situations where someone brings someone and I feel like there's something off. There's something off. I might not be able to place it right there, but I'm like, there's something off. Eventually, even with my own small knowledge, I find out that I was right.
Right.
I might not have been able to put
place
it in words.
Time, yeah.
Do you understand? But when you bring this man to interact with your family, it doesn't even have to be, I'm introducing him. Don't introduce him yet.
Yes.
Bring him home. Let others interact. Because then another thing is, every human has multi-personality. The way they are with you, there was this guy in school who said, I was a feisty human being in school, but I was gentle towards him. I'm like, how? Do you understand? Maybe I was a crush or something. I mean, he was a crush or...
Okay.
Do you understand? So in different situations, in different settings, and to different people, we change how we act.
Right.
So you want him to interact with other people. They might be able to say, okay, in the case of the guy, it was my pastor who was telling me that I'm not feeling this guy's commitment.
Yeah.
I didn't see that at the point. It was after I said it, and I started looking out for different things. Like, oh, it was like they just pulled something off my face. Like, oh, I've been looking at it because, if I go to his department, he's always asking me to stay somewhere. Apparently, it took years for another friend to be telling me that he had another active relationship, but they could not tell me. And I did. Of course, I eventually knew that there were some girls in the picture, sex matters and all of that. That is one. Then secondly, you want to interact with his family too, because he presents well to you. You might be able to pick some character traits from his siblings.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes.
There could be a certain way that he has mastered not to be that way with you. And so just sit down, go for their functions. I'm not saying go and be Yahweh, be cooking, be washing. That's not what we send you. Go to the place and look
just
at
observe.
the mall and just observe.
Right.
It will really help a lot. That's how I think it should be done. Let us know what you feel about this topic. We have given our own 2 cents. Is that how they say it?
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Kemily, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having
I enjoyed this time with you.
Really, thank you so much.
If you have not subscribed, what are you doing? Please subscribe, like, and share. Bye.
My dad died when I was 6 years old, and being the last of 5, 6, right? It was tough. My son, he sleeps at 9. By 12, he's awake. By 2 he's awake. By 3 he's awake. Sometimes, and then I have to wake up.
Is it tea he wants? Because that's what my
Different things.
daughter...
He wants to pee, he wants to drink tea, he wants to eat his food. Sometimes I used to shout on his head. I'll tell you, come, my friend, leave me alone, go and meet your mother. I want to sleep.
Whatever you're doing, once you hear my father say, now, they did not born anybody.
Come on, when these kids start giving birth and then they want a parent to come and stay with them, it's their mother they will pick. It's their mother.
Guess what? The cliche was broken in my family when my daughter was telling someone that Daddy plays with us, but you see, Mommy, she's always on her laptop. I said, yeah. It used to be the other way around.
My son, even if he takes his bath 20 times, he will not sleep.
Until papi
water. You must carry that towel, get the towel wet, and massage his body.
Oh, wow.
Give him 5 minutes, he will sleep off.